Does your child or student have an IEP, or you think they need one? Then you've come to the right place. If you have a child or student that has special education related services, then you're going to be sitting in a ton of IEP meetings. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the 5 different types of providers that need to be at every single IEP meeting and their roles and responsibilities so that you can walk in the door for your child's or student's next IEP meeting and advocate like a pro. Hey, what's up? I'm April Rarig, founder of Rise Educational Advocacy, your special education advocate to make IEPs and 504 plans so much easier. If you're new here, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and make sure to follow us on Instagram at Rise Ed Advocacy. Here's what you need to know about IEP meetings. Individual education plans, also known as IEPs, are regulated under IDA law. If you've ever been to an IEP meeting, then you know there's a ton of other people sitting in the room. The problem with special education is most parents and teachers aren't given the right training when it comes to who needs to be in your meeting and why they need to sit in the room. So in this video, I'm going to take you behind the scenes and explain the 5 different types of providers that need to be at your next IEP meeting and what is their role at the table. Make sure to keep on watching this video into the very end, where I'm going to share my favorite tools and resources so you can advocate like a pro for your next IEP meeting. Okay, I'm going to break it down when it comes to the 5 different required team members that need to be at every single one of your IEP meetings. But before we dive in, we first need to talk about one of my favorite resources. It's called the 5 Keys to Productive IEPs. If you're a parent or if you're a teacher and you've sat in an IEP meeting, you know how frustrating and how long they can be. It doesn't have to be like that. That's why I want you to make sure to check in the link below for our free guide talking about how to make our IEPs more productive. When it comes to reforming special education, it's all about when and how we communicate. So make sure to check out our free guide so that you can have a different perspective and feel so much better walking into your next meeting. All right, let's dive into the 5 different team members and explain every single one of their roles and responsibilities. Are you ready? Let's dig in. The first and most important team member that needs to be at every single IEP meeting is the student's parent or guardian. What is a parent or guardian? Let me break it down for you. Number 1, a parent who has legal custody of a student. Number 2, a guardian who acts in place of a parent with whom the student lives. Number 3, a foster parent if the court terminated parental rights. And number 4, a surrogate parent appointed for a student if they are a ward of the state. Okay, now you know what a parent or guardian is. Let's talk about your role at the table. Let me set the record straight. Parents, you make the best advocate. Why? Because you know your child better than anyone else. You've been on the IEP team longer than anyone else, and you have so many things up inside of here where you can clearly explain to the team your child's preferences, their strengths, their unique learning needs. You have so much information and you are a valid team member, and you are a required member of the team. So in order to prep, in order to feel so much better before your next meeting, make sure to check out our meeting day checklist. Inside our free guide, it lays out exactly what you need to bring for your next IEP meeting and how you can fully prep like a pro and not have to cry after every single meeting. Make sure to check in the links below for our free guide. The second type of team member that needs to be at every single IEP meeting is a general education teacher. First of all, let's talk about what is a general education teacher. A general education teacher is not a special education teacher. A general education teacher is a teacher who's going to be teaching in a regular classroom at your child's neighborhood school or the public school of residence or attendance. Now, let's talk about how can a general education teacher provide the right roles and responsibilities at the IEP table. Oh my goodness, if I could do a video about this, then I definitely would. So here's the deal. A general education teacher can talk about so many things when it comes to the child's present levels of academic achievement and functional performance, whether they've been making progress on their goals and their objectives, and all the provisions when it comes to the offer of FAPE and LRE. So make sure to know this pro tip, that unless your child has no general education services any part of their day, at least one general education teacher needs to be at every single IEP meeting. The third type of member that needs to be at every single IEP meeting is a special education teacher or a related service provider. Let's first talk about what is a special education teacher. A special education teacher, pro tip, is not a general education teacher. A special education teacher sometimes are known as a resource specialist, special day class teacher, or a teacher that has specialized credentials in order to work with your child or student appropriately. What about a related service provider? Let's talk about what those are. A related service provider could be someone like me, the school psychologist, could be an OT, PT, SLP, AT, BCBA. Oh my goodness, there are so many different related service providers. All of those fall under the same category. Pro tip. If your child has special education and related services, obviously they would if they have an IEP, then at least one of them needs to be at every single IEP meeting. Let's talk about roles and responsibilities. Your special education or related service provider needs to be in charge of your child's provision in terms of implementing the IEP and ensuring it's being done correctly. They also need to make sure to monitor the goals and objectives, the supplementary aids and services, and help to develop the IEP with the rest of the team members, including you as the parents. So here's something that you may not know. You can invite any special education teacher or related service provider to an IEP meeting as long as, number one, they know your child, or number two, they know of the programs and services that would help benefit your child at the table. The fourth type of team member that needs to be at every single IEP meeting is an administrator or an administrator designee. What does this look like? An administrator could be your child's principal. It could be the school counselor. It could be someone like the school psychologist in certain circumstances. Basically, an administrator is going to be someone who is able to be qualified to provide or supervise special education and related services and commit to school division resources. Okay. What is their responsibility? An administrator designee is supposed to be ensuring that your child's or student's services are going to be provided as written and agreed upon by the IEP team. Okay, it's time for another resource. I have something called the Meeting Day Toolkit. So whether your child has an IEP or a 504 plan, you need to get our digital guide. Here's why. If you're a parent and you walk into your child's IEP or 504 plan, everyone else is going to have paperwork except for you. You don't want that. So if your team is talking about accommodations or modifications, which one to choose, I've got a guide for it. If your team is talking about prompting or cueing, I've got a guide for it. If you need that checklist that I talked about earlier, you've got a guide for it. Basically, whatever section of the IEP or the 504 plan you're going to talk about, you need the tools and resources, and this digital guide will give you all the information. Make sure to check in our links below for all the information to our guide. The fifth type of member that needs to be at every single IEP is someone who can interpret test results. What does this look like? This could be someone like me, the school psychologist, or another special education teacher, a related service provider, or any other outside provider that's able to go through the test results, explain what they mean, how they impact your child or student, as well as help develop the education plan in terms of the goals and objectives, supplementary aids and services, and all the other information and resources when it comes to the provision of FAPE and LRE. Okay, so now you know the 5 required team members for every single IEP meeting. Let's talk about another resource that will really help you. Whether you're a parent or a teacher or an administrator, I have something called the Do-It-Yourself IEP Meetings Workshop. Inside the workshop, it's got tons of videos. It's got all of how-tos, just like I'm talking to you about today. You get lifetime access. It walks you through what an IEP looks like, what to expect, how to prepare, and how to write and develop an education plan based on strengths and all your child's or student's unique learning needs. Make sure to check in the link below for the link. Let me talk about now additional team members. So you already know those 5 required team members. Let's talk about other people that can also come to the IEP meeting. Number 1, students. So depending on your state rules or regulations, students are able to, and are required actually, be invited to their IEP meeting. Pro tip. You do not have to wait until the mandated age to invite your child to their IEP meeting. As their parent or guardian, you can invite your child at any time to be fully included at the IEP meeting. I find it so beneficial and extremely rewarding to have your child right there with everybody else. Number 2, the second type of provider that you can bring to every IEP meeting is a friend, a spouse, a significant other, someone who's able to provide outside assessment results, perhaps a tutor, anybody else who you feel like could help support you as a parent or a guardian in your IEP journey. So now you know who needs to be at your child's or student's IEP meeting and the 5 different required members that need to be at every single IEP. Here's the challenge. What do you want to do about this differently now that you have all these tools and resources? Do you have a question? Make sure to type it in the comments below. Want me to do another video? Yep, I can do that too. Make sure to check all the links in the description below for our guides and free guides. I'm April Rarick, your special education advocate. I can't wait to see you for our next video.